Hey Stones fans, we got a lesson today on Love in Vain. I'll get right into it, but I do need to explain. It's in standard tuning, which may surprise some people. And I got the capo at the 3rd fret. Where you capo it will depend on how high or low you keep your strings tuned. I have no idea if they're in standard pitch, and I haven't compared what I'm tuned to right now with the album Let It Bleed recording. So, but if you're gonna play along with the album, you can just know that the first chord in the intro is a D. So when you're fingering that chord, adjust your capo and your tuning accordingly so that it's a D shape to match what they're doing. Also, the other thing to note is if you're playing along with the live one on Yaya's, or I don't know what other live albums they put it on, to tell you the truth, but Keith plays it without the capo on those live ones, even back in '69 when it was a new song for them. So that's probably just because of to suit mixed voice on stage. But anyway, so we'll get right into it. It starts in D like this, or starts with a D. Let me see if I can get that while I'm trying to get myself situated. Just pluck it out on the D. Then so we'll go through that part. So after you do the D, then hit that open E. Then this shape, that's cover the B and the E at the 2nd fret, then the G at the 3rd fret, just those three. Those two, and then that one. Slide that up a fret to the 3rd. I suppose you could slide it up 2 frets, but I think it works better just sliding up from 2 to 3. Don't worry about being sloppy with the picking on that. You can hit the B and the E when you hit that 2nd part, but you definitely want to hit the G to slide it up, and then the high E string on that 2nd one. So it's up to the 3rd fret on those two, the 4th fret on the G string. Slide that G down to the 2nd fret, and then off. Then you're down to the D string at the 2nd fret. Then it goes right into a C. I'll see if I can get both hands in it. Down to a G. So he's just, when he gets to that C, so right, once again then you're on that D at the 2nd fret. Full C chord, well, fingering a full C chord. That's another one where you're hammering that hammering the D at the 2nd fret and then the G at the 2nd fret. And you'll hear that I'm also, when I'm hitting that G, don't worry about getting sloppy when you pick this, because it actually sounds cool when you hit those adjacent strings to it. So while I'm hitting that, doing all that hammering on, I got the B string covered at the 1st fret as part of that C chord. Then down to a G. To a G7, and then back to that G note at the 3rd fret on that high E string. That's a D. Just hammer on that 2nd fret. When I followed her, then down to a G, right? That's when he starts the vocal. And really that is the only important thing, I guess, to remember about picking that, because I'll bet Keith kind of varied it when he did it live and stuff. But the only thing you would really want to know is when you're going up, the high one you hit, I end up fingering an entire G chord, including that E string at the 3rd fret, but the highest note he's hitting on that is the B string. So even though you're fingering that high E, you don't hit it. So it's the other thing is he's not going, well, at least I don't think he is. I don't think he goes. It's more of like that. Two lights on behind. It's a G7. So when it gets to that part, you go to that G7, then keep fingering the G7 like you normally would. That's these two, and then the E string at the first fret. You want to get your pinky, for a beginner I guess this is a little bit tough, your pinky on the B string at the 3rd fret. So you go B string, then the E string. And you can get multiple strings with that picking if you want. So I'm really, when I'm doing that, I'm hitting all 3 of those high strings, the B, G, and E. Up to a C. Walk down on that A at the 3rd fret to 2nd. Now that is that's a G7 really. Sorry, G7, a D7, except instead of fretting the E at the high E string and that 2nd fret, you're fretting at the bottom E, the low E, which is the thing that Keith does quite a bit, or at least he used to back in those days. I have no idea what he favors these days, but he used to do that quite a bit. You're just hammering on that B at the 2nd fret. Again, he has that fondness for hitting, whenever he hits a D or a D7, not all the time, but a lot, he'll cover the E string at the 2nd fret for that bass note. So it's like that, just a D, regular D chord, but covering that with, you got to reach your thumb over to get the full chord. So that part, that's I guess that's a suspension. I don't know what that is. But when you get to when you go back to that G, you'll keep these 2 fingers where they are at the 3rd fret on both E strings, and then kind of suspend it with your pointer finger on the 1st fret on the B string, and your middle finger on the 2nd fret on the D. So that's just this typical, like Squeeze Box, or a million of those other songs that Love Me Like a Rock. There's a million of them that do that same shape. And so, well, it's hard to tell, it's hard to tell. That's the same D thing you just did. And then it goes, actually I play it like this. I go back to that intro thing because I love that lick. But I think what he does, I think he's just picking out an E minor there. Oh, your love. Yeah, oh, your love. C, it's a regular C. In vain. G to G7. Just like in the intro. Just take your pinky, your middle finger off that high E. So then that's the whole thing really, and it repeats. The only real difference is during some of the I think through the 2nd verse and then through the solo, Keith will do this. It's hard to do it actually. So that's just G, then walk that bass, that E note down to F. same thing with the C chord, except that now it's on the A string, keeping that note covered, and then back to it again. So that's only that's the only real difference, I think, of how he varies it through the rest of the song. Then at the end, it's Your love, yeah, that's how it is. That's it. So on the last time through, Mick does his final, all your love in vain, G7, then back up, then finger it like you're fingering a D7, and it ends on a G7. So it's, you go from first fret to third fret on that B string, high E string, then G7. And I don't think that's missing any of the parts of it. I think that's it. So it's your 12-bar blues. They stick the E minor in there, which is a nice arrangement touch. But it's not all that complicated, especially once you play along with it. The tuning makes sense, the capo makes sense, and it all kind of comes together. But in terms of the little nuances of when he's... You really got to listen to it and play along with it if you want to do it note for note. Which I kind of never do with Stone stuff, but that's the way to do it. Put on the album or pull it up on YouTube and just sit there and play with it, and it'll come to you pretty quickly, I think. Good luck with it.